truth and preservation of our soul shine. I can feel it, yours and mine. Close your eyes and witness it inside. In your bones, you will know. Trust and let go, and let it flow.
Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me beautiful soul, Trinn Hatch, who is the co-creator of the Jampha Tibetan Pharmacy in Bellingham or in Washington. And I am just so honored to have you as a guest. And I just want to wish you a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's wonderful to be with you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're in northern Washington, right up in Blaine, right by the Canadian border.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, there's a border crossing there called Peace Portal, which is where they made peace. And so our facility is about 2 miles away from the border crossing on Peace Portal Drive.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good location.
Yeah, I love the energy up there. Yeah. So I want to ask you, like, tell me a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you come into this, and like, what was your remembrance of who you are?
Well, I came into this because I hurt myself. Well, I was actually assaulted and broke my leg really, really badly. They wanted to amputate it. I was a security contractor, working as a security contractor at the time, so I really needed my leg. And we convinced the surgeon to keep it, but I ended up in external fixation with big rods sticking out of my leg to try to hold the bones together.
Oof.
Lots of complications with infections and cellulitis and other things that almost cost me my leg again and again. And so I kept my leg, but I ended up on 17 medications for almost 5 years and on disability, unable to work. I couldn't walk more than 10 or 20 yards. And if I did, I'd have to elevate my leg and ice it for a few hours just to get the pain down. So my life just was in a place where I wasn't able to do any of the things I loved. I was in a revolving door. Every time I brought up a new issue or problem, the doctor would send me to another specialist that I'd wait 2 months to get in to see. By that time, the problem had changed to something else, and I was sent to another specialist. And I just got sick of the revolving door and started looking for alternatives, and really kind of hit rock bottom and asked the universe for some help and prayed. And I was led to cannabinoids, CBD specifically, and started to learn what terpenes were. And for those who don't know, terpenes are the spiritual life force of plants that's lost at the time of drying. And so terpenes are found in cannabis and hemp, but they're also found in every plant and fruit and vegetable that we have, and are largely what holds the healing potential of the plant within those terpenes. And so I started to study terpenes and to experiment with them. I just synchronistically ended up with access to a very well-stocked lab with terpenes, and I was able to mix and try different things and also test with their testing facilities. And so I created different terpene formulas to integrate with the CBD that would address different things that I was dealing with. For example, I have had ADHD my whole life. Focus was really hard. I was trying to get back into being able to work and show up in the world. And so I thought that would be a good way to start. And so that was one of the first formulas I made, was a focus formula. I used a full spectrum CBD oil with a specific synergistic grouping of terpenes, and was able to get myself off of Adderall that I'd been on for more than 10 years. And so that was a really good sign for me. I thought, all right, I'm going to keep on with this. And so step by step, gradually, I created a different terpene profile accompanied with CBD to address the symptoms and the problems that I was dealing with. And over the course of 2 years, I was able to get myself off of all those medications, back to work, off disability, and it really changed my life. But I needed to continue taking those, not all of them, but some of those medicines to keep the symptoms at bay, especially from my arthritic conditions and the pain and the inflammation, also for the PTSD. And that was great. I found an alternative and I didn't need to take medicines anymore. But I soon became aware of an infinite ocean of botanical and mineral healing wisdom out there that I wasn't aware of or tapped into before this. And I wanted to integrate that wisdom into what I'd learned for myself through my personal experience. And so I again went to the universe and prayed and asked for assistance. And 2 weeks after I made that intention clear, our Tibetan physician, his name is Amchi Thubtenlekche, he sent me a message on LinkedIn, just out of the blue, never heard of him before. And he said that he'd been guided to us and that Jampha was a Tibetan word, and asked us if we had any, affiliation with Tibetan medicine. And I said I didn't even know that there was Tibetan medicine. I just loved the word. And long story short, he came and visited our facility about 3 months later, started to educate me on the Tibetan healing science of Suwa Rigpa's view of what terpenes are and how botanicals work and phytotherapy and cellular integration with medicines, and really a whole new world opened up to me. And so he became my mentor and my teacher. And about a year later, we brought our companies together. His being Tibetan Pharmacy, the first Tibetan pharmacy in the West, actually the only Tibetan pharmacy, operating for more than 50 years here, and our company, Jampha. And so we brought them together, and it has now become Jampha Tibetan Pharmacy.
That is so amazing. I'm just so grateful that you do this in the world, because like I I have noticed and tuned into, so the last puppy I had was in 1991 and he transitioned in 2004. So I didn't know what had changed in the industry since then. So I did like this little research project, and I was shocked to see how dramatic things have changed in terms of the increase in medications and vaccines and stuff, and the reliance upon that for our health. And what I felt intuitively, since they front load puppies and kittens with, and all animals with vaccines when they're little, how they don't have a chance to fully develop their immune systems. And so to have more homeopathic, naturopathic, like aligned with our innate being systems to support us is just, I am all for it.
Yeah, I am too. A big part of my healing journey was the spiritual and emotional aspect of healing. And I found that nothing in all of my searches across the globe in different modalities that really addressed the spiritual side of healing equally, with the mind, body, and spirit all equally being addressed.
Yeah.
And when I learned what the Tibetan medicine perspective on terpenes were, them being the life force, spiritual energy of the plant,
Mm.
wow, okay, well, what if terpenes coming back into traditional formulations, which wasn't possible before because we couldn't extract with our scientific ability now, we can extract isolated terpenes very easily. And we have thousands, more than 3,330 terpenes that I know of that can be isolated. And all of them have different properties. And so bringing that modern scientific advancement and integrating it back into traditional lineage-based medicine has really advanced lineage-based medicine quite exponentially, because when you bring terpenes back into a formulation, you're bringing an intelligent group guided system. I often think of them, and to me, they're very much like the special forces of the plant kingdom. They have specialized, very, very, very unique mastery skills that they can deploy, and they can move from one skill set to another seamlessly. And so when you have 15 or 20 Navy SEALs with 100 different skill sets each that all work synergistically with each other, now you can move through the body, the systems of the body, the energetics of the body, with an intelligent, really broad perspective on what's needed to support that regeneration, restoration, and healing process. And, I've always known and felt that healing ability to heal and regenerate ourselves is only ours. Nobody else can do it for us. It's our bodies and our minds and our spirits that do it for us. And terpenes really, for me, are a key that unlocks that awareness, cellular health, and really just cellular communication. All of a sudden, every one of the trillions of cells in your body are communicating coherently with each other. Your mind and your heart are in coherence, and your body follows suit, which health and vitality is the natural state, and that's what we revert to.
I love that, because like I've been on this, I very left brain for most of my life, and started doing diving into consciousness and quantum physics. And so like I know that every body part has consciousness, and I'm fascinated by that. But to be able to like have that interconnectivity, because it's like, yes, there's spiritual, yes, there's body, yes, there's emotions, but like to bring them all together into the same space for the deepest healing is so powerful. And to be able to access the wisdom of the plants is just, I just love that, because I remember reading Ringing Cedars a few years ago, and Anastasia, who is the lead being, she's just like based in the steppes of the Volga. She was living on the land, and one of the pieces of wisdom that she has that I haven't done yet, but I really want to try it this year if I get a garden, put the seeds under your tongue, and the seeds can pick up what you need from them.
Yeah. You can
And
also pee on them.
it's just so magical to like it's that illusion of separation that we think we have.
Mm,
And to
mm.
know that like all of life is here to support us, and they are all waiting for us to remember that.
Yeah. Our bodies, our body's biochemistry speaks the same language as plant energetics. It's a match made in heaven, literally, because we're an intelligent creation, and when we understand how this creation works on a mind, body, and spirit level, we unlock the keys to healing, restoration. Not just on the physical level, but on the emotional and spiritual level. And I think that's what most of the world is missing. Even with a system of healing that fixes the physical body, you can have a physical body that's 100% in health and be in nothing but turmoil and trauma in your heart and your mind, and nobody would know better by looking at the outer part of you.
Right.
And so, the beautiful part about Suwa Rigpa, Suwa means nourishing, and Rigpa means awareness. And so when you really think about that, you're nourishing awareness in every part of your body, every part of your mind, every part of your spirit, every part of your being. And in that state of awareness that encompasses everything, you become open to the direction and the guidance of your body's innate healing wisdom, which gently and softly tells you what you need to do. And as you learn to follow that wisdom, the path becomes easier, things become clearer, and you learn to trust it. And that's really what our company aims to do with everybody that we work with, is to awaken that innate healing wisdom within them, help them understand how to acknowledge it and be reciprocal with the guidance, and then give the support to their bodies that they need physically for all of this to manifest, which is where the tinctures and the medicines come in.
Yeah, I love that so much, because in typical, I mean, that's the goal, is to have the integration between them. But there are a few things where it's like, I did this amazing meditation and activation today, and I received light, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And to have the energetic support physically, in addition, because I talk to my I am presence regularly. I'm like, look, I know I'm a multidimensional being. I'm a fragment of the whole. I get that. 100% get that. I'm still in a three-dimensional construct. So a little support here would be great. And so I think that's a thing that a lot of spiritual people go through, is like they're expanding their consciousness, which is beautiful, but then they forget this beautiful carbon-based construct that we have. And we can't really, I mean, we incarnated into this to experience life,
Yeah.
and and all the five senses, and not the clear senses, but well, those two, but like initially the five senses. And we forget what it's like to be in an optimal state.
Yeah. We forget, or we cover it up with a bunch of stuff. And largely part of healing is uncovering all of that stuff that we pile on top and getting to the diamond underneath, which is our purest state of awareness. That's been my journey, learning the Tibetan Buddhist aspect of this, and the awareness aspect. When I first met Amchi, he said, "Oh, you need to establish greater awareness." And I went, "I'm aware all the time. I have situational awareness. I was a bodyguard. I know what that is." I had no idea what that was. And so as I started to delve into that and study and meditate and actually access that place of awareness, it became very, very clear that this and all that goes with it is the dream. And that's really the natural state. And we talk about astral projection and moving in our dreams. Well, hey, you're in the dream and you can move through it. It just takes discipline and willpower, and both things that we were given by God. We just have to work on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what I'm just getting this question. So what has been the most eye-opening aspect of awakening to your clairsenses?
Um, just that everybody else is no different than me. You know, we think we're some kind of special, messed up, or the way we think about things or do things, and yeah, everybody has their quirks and their insecurities and idiosyncrasies. And the more you tap into other people's consciousness or what they're projecting, the more love that propagates, because infallible and faulted they may be in the way that they're going, you know, you see the divinity in others because you realize that we're all from the same whole. We're just, like you said before, fractals expressing ourselves in different ways to learn and to grow. And part of that journey is awakening to our natural state of being, to who we really are and what we really are, and then staying present in that awareness, which is the hard part. But it takes
Yes,
practice and
it
it's
is.
possible.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I've noticed how, so part of my journey over the past 6 months is I've been house sitting around Oregon and Washington, and my moon is in Pisces, and I'm an Aquarian, sun rising, and then wait, sun is Aquarius, moon is Pisces, rising is Sag. And the one thing I want is to just ground. Like regularly, 2 hours a day is perfect for me, just literally laying on the ground. And I find it fascinating that there's a purpose for me bringing this grounding, like the whole ability for me to ground when I'm like this week I have moved. This is the fourth place I've stayed since Monday.
Wow.
And so to be able to ground and be present and be aware of what my my soul, my body, my emotional state, because moving around this much, I'm grateful for it. It's been a spiritual assignment. I'm very, very grateful for it. The 3D construct is like, yeah, like it's been a bit much. So I'm like, even while I'm doing the spiritual work, I'm like recognizing that my body has the trauma responses of somebody who's like a gypsy from the 1800s.
Mm.
And to be present with that level of awareness is, and not distract or anything like that, is it's like, thank goodness I've been through as much spiritual work as I've done, so I can at least have the awareness to, oh, if I want to eat like a whole chocolate bar one day, context, I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with it, because I know that that's just part of my body's need to ground. And having that level of awareness of, it's not just the spiritual, but it's like, what do our bodies need in this moment to feel like, once we're grounded physically, it's easier to connect on the spiritual level. But when we're not in a state of calm and presence, the distractions are so easy to follow.
Yeah, very true. So, you know, I often have to remind myself to slow down. We try to move through things so quickly, but we really don't have to. When you slow down, things actually speed up. I ride my bike every day past Orcas Island with my husky, and there's a mountain there. It's the oldest mountain on record in the world, 500 million years old. It's called Turtleback Mountain, and it looks like this tortoise. So as I'm riding the bike and I can see the tortoise, I pretend I'm racing the tortoise and slow my energy right down. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing for the day. By the time I get home, I feel like I just had a 3-month cave retreat. I'm zen. I'm perfectly situated where I need to be in my awareness, and things just become a flow state. So that's a good reminder.
And I love that you are energetically connected with Orcas, because that is one of my soul homes for sure. I absolutely just like, every time I've gone there twice, and the last time I was there, I sat with a plum tree for 3 hours and nothing could distract me. Like the cat, phones, like I'm just like, nope, I'm being present with plum tree, because that's what that particular island does with me, is it just grounds me into presence.
It's Lemuria. It's the top of the mountains, the most sacred mountain of Lemuria. It's pretty, and you know, people don't even realize what it is, but I didn't know anything about Orcas Island when I moved to Washington. I lived in my sister's backyard. She built me a tiny house. I had no money. I was on disability. I couldn't work. And I was having really vivid dreams. And I came out one day and my nephews were playing in front of the tiny house. And they're like, "What are you doing, Uncle Trinn?" I said, "Oh, just having a nap." Like, "Why do you sleep so much?" I was like, "Well, that's when you heal, bud, and I'm here to heal." And he said, "Did you have any dreams?" And I said, "Actually, yeah, I did. I had a really weird dream about an orca, like a big whale. And there was like a ninja turtle, like Michelangelo or Donatello or something, riding its back. And then sometimes it was like cartoons, other times it was like real turtles and real orchids." And I said, "I think I've been dreaming about this for a while because I was having flashbacks of other dreams that I hadn't remembered." And they went, "Oh, that's so cool." And my sister, who'd been eavesdropping in the kitchen window, her voice comes out the window and says, "Hey, bro, that sounds like Orcas Island." And I was like, "What island?" She's like, "Orcas Island, like the whale, orca." I'm like, "Oh, cool. I wonder if there's any turtles there." And she goes, "Yeah, dude, there's a Turtleback Mountain. It's like the oldest mountain on the planet. You might want to check it out." And that's how I first found out about Orcas Island.
I
I
love
tried to go
that.
there 3 times, and all 3 times the tides were like freak tides, and they canceled the ferry. Another time there was a mechanical issue on the ferry. Another time I went to the wrong ferry terminal and ended up on the wrong island. So I thought, all right, I'm not trying this anymore. When the universe wants me to come here, I'll be given clear passage. And that clear passage was meeting our Tibetan physician because his apothecary had actually been there for 30 years.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was being guided to go there and find him, and wasn't having any success until the time was right. But the place that I wanted to go there every time was East Sound, and East Sound is where his apothecary's been since 1990 something.
Wow.
Pretty
I was
amazing.
up there 3 years ago, and it
Yeah.
was like, so I was having dreams about it. Never been.
Mm.
And when I finally was like, okay, I have to go, I didn't even have the money to go. I didn't have a place to stay. I was just following my soul and everything. I was like, okay, source, you want me to do this? Make it easy. So I
Mm.
finally get on the ferry, and this was like, yeah, this is 3 summers ago, and I hear the whales. I'm shaking violently because like I don't even have a place to stay tonight. But I hear them, and I hear she's on the ferry. She's finally on the ferry. Oh my God, guys, she's on the ferry. And I'm like, who's saying this? Because like, I don't know. And I tune in, and it's them. I haven't met them yet, but I hear them. When I was there this winter, I was singing to them every day on the water, just calling them in, and their
They
names.
come when you call. I called them one time and they came, a pot of them, within 10 minutes. I never tried it again because I didn't want to push my luck, but
Yeah.
sitting here the whole time going, how did that just happen? Like my friends that I did it for in the boat, I was kind of showing off and saying a prayer to Gaia, and then it happened, and I was just sitting back going, even for
Wow.
me, this was really weird.
Yeah, they're I remember learning this from one of the tribal members that their name is Quelimeshin, which means people of the sea.
Hmm.
And
Very
I mean, I haven't physically met them yet. I have on my water bottle. I have
beautiful.
because
Small world.
I feel them like, and anytime I see somebody say like killer whale, I'm like, all whales kill. They just kill cute things. But their energy, they're like part of the Lemurian energy.
Absolutely.
And I love that you bring in the Lemurian energy, because I've been down to Mount Shasta too, and that has a
Mhm.
Lemurian energy to it. And I know Hawaii does too. So it's like this whole landmass between the
Mhm.
three of them. And I recently saw that there's this ancient crystal down underneath Orcas.
3 of them, apparently.
And what I feel, and I'm not sure if you can tune into this or not, but like what I feel is like, I know there are going to be some shifts on the planet. I feel like Lemuria is going to rise back up.
Yeah, Orcas Island is going to become a very bright place on the planet.
Yeah.
If you go to Orcas Island for any length of time and you just start talking to locals, you'll hear 100 stories that are the same. I was an architect. I started doing Reiki. I became a master. I had all these experiences, and the angels told me to move here, but didn't tell me why. That was 30 years ago. And then the
Yeah.
next one comes along, the same kind of story, but it was 4 years ago. Or, I just woke up one day and knew I needed to sell my house and move here. So there's all these healers with
Yeah.
means and financial abundance that are just kind of hanging out there waiting for somebody or something to come along and say, "All right, guys, let's synergize this into a symphony and work together." And create
Yeah.
what needs to be created here. And I laugh when people tell me the story and they're like, why is this funny? And this is, I can see the bigger picture, you know?
Because it's true. I mean, like, I had no, like, I'm like, why am I being called here? I mean, but I had trees, like, not, I've always had trees, like, energetically pull me, or rocks, boulders come, like, come sit with me or something like that. I had a legit full-on conversation with a redwood and Olga.
Mhm.
I'm like, that has never happened.
Is that a Matrone? The Matrone tree?
No, it's an actual redwood.
Oh, wow.
Like, it
Yeah.
was imported from California. They planted it like in the 1890s. There's a
Cool.
plaque on it. And there's one across from her that's not in the park in Olga, but like she was like, you're gonna meditate with me. I'm like, you're a tree. I haven't ever really heard a conversation with a tree. And then when I finally showed up a couple weeks later, she's like, what took you so long? I'm like, well, I thought I needed permission because like it's public land, but it's, you know, Orcas and like all the private lands. She said, I'm the oldest one on this island. If I tell you to come meditate with me, you do not need permission with anyone else. I mean, full conversation. I'm like, where am
Wow.
I?
Yeah, it's a magical place. There's a whole veil you go through to get there, and it's like being in a bardo. You're in a whole other world. Mm.
Mhm, mhm. So how have you, like, since you've been working with the plants, how else have you expanded? Like how, like what have you seen in your life that has changed that you can articulate?
I mean, everything. I've gone from needing to manage a bunch of health conditions to being in some ways healthier than I ever was. You know, I was told I'd never ride a bike or run again or work out. I went into my gym this morning and worked out, no problem. I feel great. I could go down in there and work again and go for another bike ride. So for me, it's been a transition from needing support with what I was able to create myself consistently to being able to actually fix the causes of the problems and move out of that diseased or imbalanced state into a state of vitality and wellness. And so now, you know, I take medicines if I need them because of something that's popped up. You know, I sprained my ankle the other day being stupid with my dog, so I took some of the medicines, but I don't have to reach for something every day to be able to get through the day and feel better. It's now I'm using it like everybody else does on a need by need basis. So the intelligence of the plants in accompaniment with the terpenes for me has been what I prayed for, you know, for a way to heal mind, body, and spirit. And when your prayers are answered like that, you're in a perpetual state of gratitude. There's not much else to feel.
It's so beautiful. I just love that. Like, and I love the fact that, you know, sometimes we have there's the phrase that wants to come through, dramatic experiences in our lives that force us to wake up. Mine was when my dad transitioned, and I knew he died. My phone rang. We're driving from the hospital home, and I look at my mom. I hear the phone ring. I'm like, "That's the hospital. Dad just died." She's like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, "I just do. I've always had this ability." And we get back in the room, and I see this wax figure that vaguely, but doesn't really look like my dad. Same room that he was in. And I'm like, where's dad? And my mom says, that's your father. I'm like, that's not dad because he didn't look like him. And I ask that 3 times and I feel his spirit like go from like this to scattering across the universe. And I was like, I don't know anything. I know nothing. I've been denying this my whole life. I can't deny this anymore. And I have to go within. And I don't think I would have dove in as completely as I did had he not transitioned.
Yeah, things definitely happen. Catalysts happen all the time to expand our consciousness and awareness.
Yeah.
You know, when something bad happens now, I don't look at it as, oh, something bad happened. I look at, oh, why did this happen? You know, I sprained my ankle and had to stay off it for 2 weeks. Well, I read 3 books I've been trying to read for the last 6 months and did a bunch of things that I have never had time for. So, you know, there was growth that happened at the same time as me feeling like I'd been stunted. There's more growth happened than would have happened otherwise. So, you
Yeah.
know, when you're not in a state of when you're in a state of openness and acceptance and submission to divine will, life becomes a curious mystery and almost like a comedic play playing out right before your very eyes. Actors come in and actors go out, and it becomes more of an entertainment than something to worry about.
Yeah, I love that shift. I had a phrase come in on Monday because the house that I was sitting at, the woman wanted to come home 2 hours earlier, totally fine. But the word I heard was pivot, go pivot. So I had to like finish cleaning as fast as I could because she came home 2 hours earlier than I was expecting. And then I went to immediately heard go to this park and just stare at the sage bushes because that's going to ground you and help you
Mm.
refocus. So like just be present with them and listen. I was like, how cool is it that like even when I'm in a state of heightened sympathetic energy instead of parasympathetic, I still have the ability to tune in and listen for the guidance because I could feel myself going into that state of, okay, I got to get all this done, which is not how I normally am. So it's an elevated state of energy, but everything in me was like, I don't want to do that. So as soon as I was done with it, it was like, okay, we're going to go reset now because that's what I need. And I find it very interesting because I am incredibly sensitive and I get overstimulated very quickly. So for me to be able to have the degree of awareness I do about myself and how I show up in the world is like it's fascinating because I can see where people are energetically and what the expectations are for the relationship. So I can adjust myself to show up in different ways.
Good. That's a wonderful thing to be aware of. I mean, awareness, for me, that's the singular most important thing of my whole experience over the last 5 years with, Tibetan Buddhism is
Mm.
it's it. Every master has taught it in different ways and used different names, but I grew up with a very Christian background. I went through a seminary for 4 years when I was in college and learned world religions and really kind of moved away from religions after I saw them for what they were. But I was never studied Buddhism or looked at it at all. And now that I have for the past 4 years, really in depth studied a lot of different aspects of it, I can see all of those teachings in Christianity, not so much in the doctrines of men related to what Christ taught, but in his pure teachings. He said things very simply, but within those simple expressions, huge amounts of information are provided, and that information can really be expounded with Buddhism. And recently I've just learned that there's records of Christ. His name was Isu, coming to monasteries in Nepal, Bhutan, or Nepal, Tibet, and India, and learning from the sages there, and actually studying the same path that I just studied. I didn't learn about this until I finished the path, and then I went, hang on a second. He went and did the same thing and then went and took it back there. So between the ages of 12 and 30, there's a record of what he did for the vast majority of that time, visiting with the wise men of the East that invited him at his birth when they came to visit him to come and study with them. But that part was left out of the book.
Yeah, yeah. Because we don't want to actually share that information. And I've always felt because I grew up Christian too. It's like one of the questions I had when I was 10, when my grandpa died and sat on my bed for 3 days after he died, was like, how do you pray? And I got, you pray, and I'm like, that's not helpful. Like Greg Braden's taught me more than anyone else about prayer and the feeling state. But I was like, okay, like why is it so hard? And we can dive down many rabbit holes and we don't need to, but like it feels like there's like this effort to keep us from remembering that we are so much more than this third dimensional construct.
Yeah, that's what all the energy of the negative orientated beings is focused on, is stopping us from remembering. It's keeping us in a collective state of amnesia.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of technology, what you're doing with your podcast and being able to reach so many people so easily. It's the writings on the wall, and things are changing very, very quickly.
I'm excited about that. I am very excited about it. I do meditations every other week with Addie Lang from Green Tura Guru.
Mhm.
And she gives us energetic, just she went today, like this energetic update about what happened since Earth Day. And I was giddy because I could feel the light. I could feel the expansion. I could feel like how we're becoming and remembering our light bodies more. And, you know, for me, the ability to express what wants to come through me in all the different ways it wants to come, because I have so many gifts. I hope I can live long enough to use them all. Um, like that's what we're here for, is that expression of what wants to flow through us.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have our own unique expression of what divinity is, and those expressions are infinite, just like we are. And but the truth of it resonates very clearly for me is we're all part of the same whole. Where I think Rumi said it, we're not a drop in the ocean, we're the ocean in a drop.
Yeah. And to help others remember in all the ways that we can is like, I love living in this time of consciousness, because we have access to things that even 20 years ago weren't really available.
Yeah, things have sped up exponentially in at least in the medical field now. The releases of new technologies coming out is going to be like a tidal wave of healing potential for people. So I'm excited to see how things fold out. There's been a lot of suppression of things that could have changed the fortunes of everyone on the planet for a long time, and they've been hidden from us, and now they're being brought into the light of day. Really, everything is. And so it's a good time to get some popcorn and enjoy the show.
I agree. It's been really fun because I'm a former historian, so like Source has been saying, go here and look at this thing, and go here and look at this thing, and I'm like, okay, so I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. I'm a researcher who's guided to go down these rabbit holes, and like the stuff that I've seen and the stuff that I know that is getting cleaned out of the planet. It's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then the stuff that I know, all the patents that have been repressed and all the magic that we can co-create. I was thinking, like, I know there's replicators, and I'm like, the stuff we could heal on the planet with replicator. Please let me do this now. Um, and it's not that I'm relying on a technology. It's just that like the creativity within me is like, can see the potentialities of, like, for example, I have a friend who does soil remediation and gets rid of glyphosate out of the soil in 21 days.
Wonderful.
Like,
Need more.
can't we replicate that across the planet, please? Like now, I would love to do that. And like just stuff like that, is coming through. And because we've been raising the frequency of the planet, beingness of our efforts to clear our vessels and open ourselves up to that state of surrender that you talked about, is just, it's really magical.
Yeah. That's what all of our medicines that we create are focused on, is really bringing support to the mind, body, and spirit. We have a formula specifically for the heart, which is for healers, intuitives, empaths, that clears out the negative traumas, emotions, other people's negative energies we take on by having an open heart in a consultation or working with somebody. Healing Heart dissolves and lets all of that go, and you don't need to relive it for that to happen. And so that formula has been life-changing, for the people that we work with that are engaged in the healing arts. Many of us get really sick and chronic problems because we're not grounding, we're not clearing. And that's probably true of 90% of the people that I work with. And so this formula for bringing the mind and the heart into coherence and clearing out the baggage of the heart is really profound. It's the most powerful support I've found for that aspect of healing anywhere on the planet. More so than an ayahuasca ceremony or any of that other stuff. It's
Yeah,
the phytotherapy that's getting the energetics out of your system, not just taking your focus into a different area.
that's amazing.
Mm.
I love
So
that.
that's
Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's one example. That's one example of a formula we have for the heart. We use that oftentimes with another formula called white elephant, and white elephant is a nootropic neurocognitive enhancer. We use it for people with dementia, Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative diseases. But for a healthy person, it's a pineal activator. And so in accompaniment with the healing heart, you give some pretty exponential support for bringing yourself into a state of coherence,
Oh, that's
which multiple people have described to me that don't even know each other in much the same way. They tell me that they've learned to love everything that comes into their mind, all of their discordant thoughts and crap. They just send it love, and they now think with their hearts. And if you think about that and flip the script on what we think we're supposed to be doing, that right there is the recipe for enlightenment. Because when you're living from your heart's intelligence and you're not becoming attached to the thoughts in your mind, but purely dissolving them in love and acceptance and compassion, you're living from your natural state of being. This is where your Christed being, that intelligence comes from. And so, that's an example of how the formulas can work on a spiritual level while
uh,
also working on a physical level for the physical aspects of healing the brain and the heart.
mm, that is so beautiful. I love
Yeah,
that
so
so
we,
much.
we have lots and lots of formulas, and we don't have time to go through them all now, but anybody that's interested, we offer free consultations at our Heal Me page. And I don't know if we can put that in the link
Oh
on
yeah,
the.
definitely we will. We definitely
Yeah,
will.
but it's heal.me/Jampha. And that'll give you access to a free consultation with myself. And, I can answer any questions you have about the products and support you with product recommendations and creating a protocol. So that's generally how we help people. We receive
Yeah.
a lot of referrals from all types of healers, modalities, doctors, naturopaths.
Mm.
For most people, when they come to our site, it's overwhelming because everybody wants to try everything. You're like, I need that, I need that, I need that, I need that. Oftentimes, I have beautiful little old ladies call me up and they're like, I'm 79 and I just bought 12 of your tinctures and I don't know which one to use first. I'm like, why did you buy 12 tinctures? She's like, well, I needed that one. I needed that one. So people get really happy and they buy it all and they go, wait a
Yeah.
minute, what's the best way to use it? And so in a 15-minute consultation, we can answer all those questions, put you on a track to really pull yourself out of, and I say pull yourself out of it because that's what's happening, pull yourself
Yeah.
out of a degenerative trajectory, and with the help of the medicine, establish a regenerative trajectory. That's
Yeah.
the goal with any protocol that we set up.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I am so grateful that you were on the planet with me at this time in consciousness. I truly am. I just wanted to reflect that to you.
Thank you.
And
Feel
I'm
the same way.
thank you. And I'm so grateful for the work you do in the world. And I am just so honored that you decided to spend time with me today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Is there any other way you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, you can visit us at our website, which is just Jampha, jampha.com. You can also email us, love@jampha.com. We have a toll-free number that usually if we don't answer, we respond within a few hours.
Okay.
And that number is 888-303-3378. And so, our goal is to support you through your healing process as much as we can. We're very open to people calling in and asking for support. And so, it's not just about selling products. We really want to turn off that revolving door system and help people establish that healing trajectory and then give them the wisdom and the knowledge and know-how of how to continue that trajectory just by their diet and meditation and grounding, without needing to take something for the rest of their lives to feel good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.